Trump says he wants to reopen Alcatraz as a functioning prison for the most violent offenders. Bureau of Prison notes on his website it was closed in the 60s because it was 3 times more expensive to operate than other prisons. This is Trump's statement. He says, "We will make America great again." He wants to open Alcatraz. But let's see here. On March 21st, 1963, USP Alcatraz closed after 29 years of operation. It did not close because of the disappearance of Morris and the Anglin brothers, who tried to escape and disappeared. It's only a mile and a half, by the way, but it's just really cold, bad currents, and this
killer problem
of giant predator animals that have been around for a bajillion years.
They will fuck you up.
Yes. Now, right around here, 1963, is when the United States, when was Kennedy assassinated?
63.
Yeah, right around there. I think this was part and parcel of that, because one of the things the Marxist hates is an organized and competent prison system. That's why you're seeing rapists and all of that let out of prison. That's what's going on with that. They want those criminals on the streets where they can be used as a weapon. And then once they've got control, once the Marxists take control, then they get rid of their useful idiots, and you end up in a trench.
And that happens every single time.
Yeah, literally every single time.
Once it happened in Vietnam, Cambodia, Russia. Let's see, China. Oh my God, China went crazy.
China was the worst.
Yeah, when they took power.
Yeah, they starved millions. Happened in North Korea. I didn't literally watch, but the signals intelligence we were doing, we watched via their signals intelligence as North Korea starved 3 million people to death because the people were starting to get the idea that maybe they could not live under an oppressive regime. So they literally just starved 3 million of them to death to make the point. They went and took supplies. They went and raided granaries. They cleaned out warehouses, and they just left all of these people to starve to death.
Yep.
And I'm literally listening to communications of whole villages going, "We've got nothing left." Some people have started eating other people. The guy down the street, he was eating bark off of a tree last night. Things like I have heard all of that stuff and worse.
Yeah.
From the prison camps. But I believe personally that this is just a bullshit excuse that Alcatraz was actually closed when the administration started to become Marxist after the death of Kennedy. My personal opinion.
And they use that escape as like a hinge pin to shut it down.
Yes, exactly. Alcatraz closed as a federal penitentiary more than 60 years ago, is now a very popular national park and tourist attraction. The president's proposal is not a serious one, says Nancy Pelosi, because everybody loves California's favorite fucking drunk, right?
Yeah, fuck her.
Talk about somebody that doesn't need to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Let's have a little look at Alcatraz itself. I will hit Control Plus here to make this a little larger for our gentle viewers. Alcatraz Prison, California, United States. Former maximum security prison located on Alcatraz Island in San Francisco Bay. It started off as a naval defense force, which was great. It controls the bay. The position of Alcatraz is fantastic as a naval base. For that time when it was
not
all
today.
Ships and stuff. Yeah, today it wouldn't matter. They just blow the island away and carry on.
That's right.
they just blow the entire grid of the island there. Alcatraz became a federal penitentiary in 1934. In the ensuing years, it became famous for such high-profile inmates as Al Capone, who died of syphilis in prison. The prison also made headlines for several escape attempts. Notably, in 1962, 3 inmates broke out, though it is unknown if they reached the mainland. Nobody ever did find those guys. I've
watched a couple shows on them.
Yeah.
There's rumors that a couple of them made it, and they just never got picked up.
None of them were ever seen again. The one that fascinates me, and this is not an Alcatraz story, but it fascinates me anyway, is the guy who jumped out of the damn airplane with a parachute and a bag of money.
Yeah. And
DB Cooper.
D.B. Cooper, that's it.
D.B. Cooper, and they think he made it now.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing. They're pretty certain that he made it. Okay, criminal, committed a robbery, yeah, bad, okay, but talk about doing it with fucking style, though.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That was executed with style.
Yeah, I'm going to let that one go.
All right.
I'm straight up going to let that one go. Let's see now. Alcatraz, originally envisioned as a naval defense fortification, was designated a residence for military offenders in 1861. Oh, that'd be a hell of a place to do some freaking USEMJ time or a court martial. It housed a diverse collection of prisoners in its early years. These included 19 Hopi Indians from the Arizona Territory who passively resisted American attempts to assimilate them, and American soldiers fighting in the Philippine-American War who had joined the Filipino cause in 1900. That pretty much happens in every war. You always get a couple of guys.
It's anywhere from like half a dozen to 2 or 3 dozen.
Yes. There were still 3 Americans living in North Korea while I was over there who were always in North Korean movies, and they always played the bad guy.
And most of the time they're draftees.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yep. The island was designated the Pacific branch of the United States military prison, and the modern prison building was completed 4 years later. In 1933, the Army transferred control of the prison to the Civilian Department of Justice, and from 1934 to 1963, Alcatraz served as a federal prison. For most of the most dangerous guys, the Birdman of Alcatraz, James Whitey Bulger. I have a terrifying James Whitey Bulger story for you. Dude, we know he was there, and then he got out, and then he escaped, and he disappeared. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
When I was working for the law firm in Santa Monica, I used to play darts at a bar there called the King's Head, which is on Wilshire. It's a really popular bar in Santa Monica, and it's got really good dartboards. Bulger was in hiding 2 blocks away and was probably in that bar because it was mostly British expats who went there.
Huh.
He was probably in that bar on several occasions while I was there.
Huh.
So I was like, and I would have had no idea. I wouldn't have recognized him if I ran directly into him and spilled my fucking drink on him. I would have had no idea. But yeah, the dude was right there. It's kind of freaky to think that.
Yeah.
Although Alcatraz was able to house 450 convicts in cells that measured 10 feet by 4. Imagine living in that. No more than 250 prisoners ever occupied the island at one time. Escape attempts were rare, and most escapees relied on secrecy and subterfuge to reach the perceived freedom of the waters of San Francisco Bay. From May 2nd to May 4th, 1946, however, a half dozen inmates participated in an escape attempt that was unprecedented in its violence. Again, it's prison violent escape attempts, and then just violence in general happens. Later dubbed the Battle of Alcatraz, the 48-hour incident began when prisoners overpowered guards, obtained their firearms and the keys to the cell block. Frustrated by a locked door, the prisoners exchanged gunfire with the remaining guards, and the order was restored only when Marines stormed the cell block under a hail of grenades and rifle fire. Dude, you've seen pictures of the inside of Alcatraz, right?
Yeah.
Like the way it's all concrete and stuff, and the narrow corridors.
Hand grenades in there would be very bad.
Having done what you did for a living, can you imagine just the noise volume alone in there?
It'd have been over the top.
That would have been a madhouse. And then throw in a frag or something like that in one of those hallways.
Well, the thing is when you throw a frag into a concrete building, it basically amplifies it.
Because it contains the detonation.
Correct.
It basically compresses it's got nowhere to go.
Yep. I have seen them throw hand grenades into little rooms, shut the door, and then the door literally just blow out into the hallway.
Yeah. Either blows completely out, or if it's made of some kind of metal or something, it will buckle. I saw that in a couple of BDAs, and it looks like, the Hulk punched the door from the other side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're 100% correct.
Eventually, the costs associated with maintaining the prison, particularly the expense of transporting fresh water to and waste away from it, resulted in the closing of the facility in March of 1963. The California government had started to shift at that point, and the unions were definitely Marxist controlled by that point. And you and I discussed at the beginning of the show how if California is going to have an influence, it's going to be from the shore. They're going to control the unions. They're going to control the longshoremen. They're going to control those docks there on the shore, preventing the prison from getting the shit that it needs. So from November 20th, 1969 to June 11, 1971, the island was occupied by Native American activists, including members of the American Indian movement, who were protesting what they saw as the U.S. government's ongoing economic, social, and political neglect of Native Americans. I have a great idea. Let's exile ourselves to an absolute wreck of a maximum security prison and live in squalor there to protest.
Hey,
I don't see how that accomplished a thing.
I don't believe it did, actually.
Yeah, I don't recall that ever accomplishing. I mean, I wasn't born yet. I was just born, actually. In the middle of all of that right there. But I don't recall ever seeing anything about this actually having anything that looked like a result.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a lot of the there's a bunch of protests in the 70s when I was a little kid.
Oh, that was the big thing. You protested.
I remember watching it on the news
Mm-hmm.
and all the craziness that went on.
Mm-hmm. A couple years before, well, actually, the year before you were born was the Detroit riots.
Yep, and that ruined this city, and it's never recovered.
Yeah. Yep. Why did Alcatraz close down? One of the most famous prisons founded in the United States, even though it has been open in years. The prison officially closed down because it was too expensive to maintain. It would require about $3 million to $5 million further maintenance and restoration work to keep it open. So not even taking into account operating costs that were required daily. Again, all of the supplies were going in there by boat. It's a different world today. These boats can even be remote controlled. I personally, this is my opinion. I'm just going to tell you what I think about reopening Alcatraz today.
Tell us.
What?
Tell us.
Okay, I will. One, if you can get control of those docks, California is the big problem, and it's unions and stuff. They would have to federalize at least one of the docks. And they can do that. Under the Constitution, the federal government is allowed to have those ports and harbors required for a Navy. Declare one of those a Navy dock. I think there's a Navy dock there anyway. They could use the Navy dock.
They got a bunch of national, Coast Guard and
sure
bases in California.
Run the supplies through there. Then, as far as restoring the prison goes, it's a prison. Stop being gentle with these people. They don't need Wi-Fi. Okay, sorry, you're a prisoner. Life is going to suck for the time that you're there. And the money, well, we already know from USAID and other federal cesspools and money pits that we know that the money is there and that it's being misspent on underwater basket weaving for Madagascarian midgets with one leg named Sue.
Fair enough.
Okay. Millions of dollars are being funneled into organizations that protest stuff like this. Take that money. But the problem, again, like you said, is if it flips and we get another Obama or Biden administration style thing.
So the country will get turned into an Obama nation?
Oh, you made that bro, did you see the video of Harris the other?
The
I think it was like from, oh my God, where she's walking, she's like wearing a beige suit and she's trying to talk to reporters and she's obviously completely hammered out of her mind.
Yeah, we're going to actually cover that on the 22nd of May, on the Thursday.
Are we?
Yeah. It's already been added to the lineup.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
You're a little too happy about that. What's wrong with you? What?
I hate that bitch.
Yeah, well, she's just a freaking knee pad superstar. I
would not piss in her mouth if her teeth were on fire.
Wow, that's really specific.
Yes, it is.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.